This is the Analysis in Chains with Nathan Williams and Neal Kieran.
Welcome to Analysis in Chains by CryptoNews.com, your daily source of all things crypto. I'm Nathan Williams. Hi, Neal. How's it going?
All is good, Nathan. All is good. It's summer here in Montreal. The weather's fantastic. I think we had like 6 months of misery, and I'm sure our listeners are happy to hear us talk more positively of the weather now.
Sucker. It's been nice here forever. I love Berlin weather, and it's weird for anybody in the earth to say this, but I'm comparing it to Montreal. So I've been, I don't know about you, Neal, but I've been totally in a game mood the past while. This is the way I unwind from stuff, is I've been gaming. And I think there's been a lot of developments in the game space for crypto. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think we've seen this space develop a lot. It doesn't get as much attention, I feel, as a lot of other crypto. A lot of people have been, very focused on the mega coins, like your Zcash, your Monero, Dash, Bitcoin, Ethereum. But there's a lot of other ICOs out there that have been more focused on gaming. And there's been a lot of development in terms of games out there. So some of these games don't actually have, say, tokens that you could buy on exchanges yet, and you wouldn't see them on CoinMarketCap, but they actually have digital assets. They have ERC-721 tokens, non-fungible tokens that represent something of the game. So, for example, there's Decentraland, which is you can buy their tokens on actually through an exchange. But the essence of what they do is they sell land, which is ERC-721 tokens. And in this land, the idea is that you can build your own virtual world in this land. And so what you have is you have a marketplace called Decentraland, and that's what their tokens represent when you buy them at various exchanges. But within this marketplace, they have their own tokens, the ERC-721 tokens, where you can buy assets, digital assets, representing land, representing things on the land, like maybe you want to buy a house, for example, on this land. And so therefore, the idea is that you develop a community, you develop a world of digital assets that you own and therefore can trade. And this is a theme we're seeing in terms of development in crypto gaming, is a virtual world that you're creating, and therefore you actually have these assets that are worth something, and then you can sell it. And in a way, that's the way it has been for a while in gaming for the last few years. So you think of people who are playing CSGO or any other games like Call of Duty, that you work hard, you're very good at the game, you're earning points, and then you're earning guns, or you're earning new features. But the thing is that in the past, it was very hard to cash in on the points that you earned. But the bigger picture of gaming now is that, okay, if you work hard in a game and you become an expert, you can actually cash in on your expertise. And so so it seems to be that's where gaming is going, and that's where blockchain can enable that.
It's funny because you're completely right. This has been the norm in gaming for a while, is to have some sort of interface between collectible items and the game itself. There's been an increase in the model of a free-to-play game that is supported by purchasing cosmetics for your character. And so, the CSGO, the League of Legends, Dota 2, and then more recent games, anything that's online multiplayer, a lot of them are supported by this model of purchasing hats for your character. The challenge has always been, how do you introduce rarity? And there have been a couple of scandals in these computer gaming companies because you have a centralized control over the rarity of the hats, So you want to buy a weapon or a hat or a cloak for your character, and you have certain ones that are limited edition only for a certain amount of time. But then it's like, well, what if we want to bring it back? What if we have a bunch of new players and we want to give them the opportunity to buy this skin for their character? And there have been a couple of games that experimented with doing that, to the outrage of the fans who had invested money into the perceived rarity of it. And the problem was the centralized nature of creating these items meant that there was no way to ensure the rarity. So I could see blockchain as being a way of sort of guaranteeing the item as an investment for the gaming collectible collector.
So one of the things about game companies that they don't realize how the secondhand market is a big part of the gaming experience. So they're all for selling you something as a gamer to enhance your experience, but they're not too keen on you taking that asset and then selling it on the market, on the secondhand market, and making more money from it. Whereas games like Decentraland, the whole point of it is that the secondhand market is stronger than the first hand market. That this is the core, the essence of the experience. And I think this is where traditional gaming could be under threat, where people realize, hey, I can go play blockchain games and I can get more value for my experience. And actually, the thing is, like, professional gaming is something that's on the rise, but it's like a lot of people are becoming more dependent on making YouTube videos in order to make a living as a professional gamer. It's not easy to be a true professional gamer, like that you're in an arena and you're on a team and you're playing for cash. If the other alternative is that you just make gaming videos. But the thing about gaming videos is that that is very centralized. And what we have is you have YouTube changing terms and conditions. And therefore it becomes harder to, say, make a living on those videos. Whereas with blockchain, now you have this opportunity of actually cashing in on your expertise because of these secondhand markets are being enabled in blockchain. Whereas at the moment, these like one controversy is with CS:GO and Valve, and they changed some terms and conditions, and the whole skins aspect that people enjoyed and selling those skins is now under threat, and people are stopped playing the game. If people stop playing the game, that means the value of the skins plummet because you got less people participating. So, well, what I think we're going to see a big movement now towards decentralized games where people feel they own the game more, that their input, like their time spent, is now worth something. And the thing is, in a world where economies are, trade wars breaking out between different countries and economies are very, very fragile, we're seeing a new ecosystem develop where people are now having a choice of, okay, you know what, unemployment in your regions may be not very good, the politics is working against you, but the virtual world is offering you an opportunity to actually make money from nothing. And I think that this direction, I think, is great. And in terms of crypto, I know there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists out there who think it's all about Bitcoin and the whole world should revolve around Bitcoin. But the thing is that crypto gaming really does offer another alternative, and a lot of the crypto around gaming, I think, could really, really take off and maybe be the killer app that really helps bring crypto to the masses.
Well, it's funny. There's a lot of pieces in there, Neil. Like one of them is that it's not just corporates that are the danger, changing the terms and conditions for the centralization risk. I remember a few months back, Belgium ruled that loot boxes are considered gambling and should be. And this is I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember that it caused a big stir because that loot boxes are sort of the main way that a lot of these games make their money. It's like you buy a key, you open a box, you get a hat, but because there's a real monetary value assigned to it, then it's considered a form of gambling, and you got to be careful about whether you can give this to kids or not. And the big question is, if you are putting this sort of thing on a blockchain, where it's not as easy to say, okay, well, it's centralized, we can stop it. You got to sort of think, well, how do we make sure that we're still in compliance with all of the local laws surrounding gaming? Because gaming is not just, oh, let's play Super Mario, do. It's also online poker. It's also places where you can gamble and get actual money, and the line is blurring, especially from a regulatory standpoint. Now that you've got loot boxes coming into the scene as the main way these companies are funding themselves. So I don't know. I'm still really excited. You know, I mean, personally, I haven't been a child in a while, so maybe maybe this doesn't affect me as much as it would the 14-year-old CS:GO player. But it is something that will definitely affect the gaming industry as they're figuring out sort of which pieces can be decentralized, put on the blockchain, which ones shouldn't be.
Well, in terms of the gambling aspect, like I guess for me, if you are developing digital assets, you're more investing than gambling. And if we're in a tokenized world where you say have to earn your tokens, therefore you're making tokens for free, and you're more. It's easier to take a risk with something you got for free as opposed to taking your hard-earned cash and taking a risk and hoping that you make money from this. So I think that for kids, I would hope under 14, we'll say juveniles, or people under 14, because I know with gaming laws, I think there's different countries have different age limits. I would see it that it's fair game in the world like Decentraland or maybe even CryptoKitties. It could be like, okay, you know what, you can buy, your father will give you, or your parents will give you like $20-30 worth of Ethereum, and where you go, son. It's no different to when your parents were buying apps, or when your parents are buying you actually like FIFA or Call of Duty. Is like, here you go, son, happy birthday, go crazy. Well, you could have your parents giving you 20 credits or even like $20 worth of Ethereum, or where you go, and then the kid would take that $20 and buy digital assets, and then through those digital assets would work their way up within the game. I would see that. I wouldn't see that as gambling, but I would see that as a huge educational thing for kids, because they're realizing the power of value. Whereas,
I'm sure that you don't see it as gambling. I'm just saying that some of the governments are seeing it as gambling already. You know, this is
well,
and something like CryptoKitties is interesting because it's not exactly the same as a loot box, but it does blur the line between just sort of buying an asset and buying a loot box, because you breed your CryptoKitties and you don't know what you're going to get, if it's going to be valuable or not. And so I can imagine this being a contentious issue going forward as these lines get blurred and regulation struggles to keep up.
well, to me, gambling is when you're playing with chance, and investing is when you're going with trends, and therefore that's where I see the actual difference. Like gambling is like horse racing or betting on a soccer game. Like there's chance determines the outcome. But when it comes
Yeah, but
to
that's sort of what a loot box is, right? It's like you don't know what you're going to get inside, and as soon as there's a monetary value attached to it, the question is, are you just putting in money to get like €2 worth of money to get a key, or €10 worth of money to get a crypto kitty, breeding it together and finding some random chance thing that might be worth $20,000 or might be worth nothing.
But then if you think of, say, games like Minecraft, there's less chance to it. You're building something, you're investing in something. And if you
Yeah,
do a very, very good job, it means something. Or if we think of uh, like all these different characters where people develop, different skill sets, or they get, certain types of armor or certain types of weapons, like they are worth something because they're very productive. It's like investing in a machine. You're not taking a chance on a machine to improve your productivity in a manufacturing plant. You're buying it to improve your efficiency. So as a gamer, like you're buying these tools in order to improve your gaming experience, but also make you more productive to gain more points, to gain more tokens.
sure,
So
and it's gonna depend on how it's implemented, obviously.
yeah,
And I think that's what it really comes down to. There's something else I wanted to bring up, Neil, when you were talking. Is this came up when we were talking with Scara Token? You remember we did the interview with them back in January,
yeah,
and what what was interesting was when they were doing their ICO, I haven't actually followed up with them to find out how it did. I hope they did well. But I remember them saying that, they wanted to build a system so that they had a currency that other games could use. And I know there's a lot of competition out there, everyone making their own token. And it just seems interesting to me that sort of what is needed in the computer game industry is sort of a common market to be able so that you could trade your CS:GO skins for a common gaming token and then trade it for, an item in a different game or whatever. But I think that sort of goes against what the gaming companies themselves want, which is to sort of control the market. And it's interesting. I think in a way, ICOs have to become sort of unpalatable for these common standards and protocols to really gain traction. Right now it's just too easy for each individual gaming company to run their own ICO, hopefully making a few million and then funding, their game a bit as they develop their market and develop their product. But maybe if it becomes unwieldy to do so, that's when we're going to see the ability to take your CS:GO skin and put it in PUBG or whatever other whatever other system is out there.
Yeah, well, I know there are some companies working on that. There's Wax, which I have some of their tokens. So their bigger picture is that you'd be able to maybe trade an Etherbot for CryptoKitty. In the same way we would trade maybe Bitcoin for Ethereum. That's where they hope to be going, into a marketplace where you're trading all sorts of ERC-721 tokens. So they already are supporting CSGO skins and trading. And so it can end up being two different formats. You could have the closed systems where you can trade CSGO skins for Wax tokens, and that's the only trading you can do there because it's like a closed system. And then the more blockchain games, the ERC-721 games out there that are mainly just blockchain decentralized games, they would obviously potentially have agreements where, okay, if you go to Wax, you can trade a sword for a few acres of virtual land. So that could be where we'll see that develop as well, because based on all of these different surveys I read by all these different gaming companies, this is what gamers really, really want. Because maybe they specialize in 3 games that they love going to, and therefore if they've earned a lot of points or a lot of tools or whatever, they like to cash that in to buy something else in another game. So we could see this evolve first in the blockchain world, I believe, and then it's up to the closed systems, be your Valve, your Activision, to follow suit. Because if blockchain gaming becomes huge and really, really big, for sure Valve and Activision and EA will all want to make a move in there, because they're going to realize, okay, we're missing out on this big opportunity.
I think that what we're describing here is the same thing that I'm seeing in a lot of big industries that are trying to develop blockchain, is that everyone sort of wants to be the winner. And what's going to be needed is probably a standard or a protocol where no one is the winner of the blockchain, but everyone sort of participates in the community. And I hope that's the direction they go. And if that's Wax's goal, I hope they're successful.
Yeah, well, I think it's why I got their tokens. I kind of see as a main platform that supports like all other gaming companies, like be it Decentraland. Like Decentraland is its own marketplace but has its own tokens, so it'll be supporting Decentraland, not taking away from Decentraland. Then you have Engine Coin that is involved in skins as well, but they will be supporting Engine Coin instead of trying to take away from Engine Coin. So that seems to be their bigger goal, which is why I'm so interested in decentralization. And yeah, I hope that's what we see evolving.
All right. Well, play on, Neil.
Play on, Nathan.